I got to put on my chapstick.
There you go. We are live today. It is Thursday in our Purse Strings for Financially Fearless Women group. We need to come up with a catchy, we do a lot of Money Mondays. We need a catchy Thursday name.
Yeah, we'll have to think of that. Yeah. Hello, everyone out there. We're welcome to Purse Strings, where we're having another Thursday of live event, which we love to do. Share information with women on how to be financially fearless, as they say. And of course, as everyone knows, we created Purse Strings so that we could provide women free tools and resources that will help them make smart financial decisions for themselves and for their families. Because too often women, aren't aware of the resources that are out there, but also are not sure who to ask, who to go to. Pursestrings.co is your one-stop shop. So not only do we provide you great content, Ask an Expert, but we also provide you great financial professionals like today with Peggy. They have been trained and vetted by Purse Strings. They serve a female market. They're going to have your best interest front and center. So we want women to use Purse Strings approved professionals as their go-to place for all things financial. So have them there as part of your financial team. And we welcome Peggy today. And you're from Washington State, right, Peggy?
Correct.
Yeah. Was it snowing there this morning?
No, it's beautiful. It's a nice sunny day right now, at least for the next couple hours.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I know Maggie said it was snowing where she is, but Chicago's beautiful. Cold though. It's below 30 degrees in Chicago, but it's sunny out. So, but this weekend it's going to be 60. So who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
So Peggy, not only are you one of our financial professionals, but you train dogs in your spare time. So we're going to talk about that for a second. Let's hear all about it. I mean, our professionals are normal. They're everyday people. I mean, it's cool. Like last time, somebody else was learning how to play the ukulele. Because why not?
Well, it is so funny because that's one of the things we talk about. I do a sport called dog agility. And what that is you run an obstacle course with your dog. It's a lot of fun. And most of the average agility handler, we did a survey on this, is like a 52-year-old woman. But what's even funnier is that we run around, we know each other by our first name and our dog's name. And we're all wearing clothes that dogs can jump on and you can get dirty and all that stuff. But what's really funny is when you start talking to them about what they do professionally, you're like, wow, that's a judge that's running. And that person is a dentist. This person is actually one of the people that we used to run agility with was Greg Louganis, who's, an Olympic diver.
Yes.
So,
wow.
You're so right. It brings people down to a human level. And so when you get into these conversations about some of the stuff that they're doing for their life planning, it is, I had a client once come to me and she said, do you want to work with me? And I said, sure. What's your problem? She goes, my financial advisor said that she's not going to work with me unless I get rid of the dogs. And I said, really?
What?
And I said, you go back and you tell her that you'll get rid of the dogs when she gets rid of the golf clubs.
Why would they even say that? Was she spending too much money on them or something? Oh, okay.
They're like your babies.
They are our children.
And you talk about how much money do people spend on golf?
Yeah. Or any other. Yeah.
So it's your passion. But yes, that's what I do in my spare time. And my spouse is a professional at this and travels the world teaching people how to do this. So
wow.
Yeah. How do they travel with the dogs?
We usually put them underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a crate.
Wait, underneath what?
Underneath in the plane.
In the cargo?
In the cargo.
Oh.
How
do they like that? That sounds horrible.
That's a bad rep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what kind of dogs are they? They're a certain breed, right?
Well, I've had Siberian Huskies, which are the hardest ones to have, but right now we have 4 Border Collies.
Yeah, those are really cool. I've seen them. I've seen them gather sheep, right? I've seen that done at a farm that I was at one time, and that was so impressive. But they do say that if you have those dogs at home, they try to gather you as well, right? Get you all in the same room.
Well, my girl does. I have the one girl. We have 3 boys, and her name is Dime, and it's not after the coin; it's after the candy bar. So I named her before I became a financial advisor, and everybody goes,
"Oh, that's funny.
So funny. You named your dog Dime." And it's like, no, that wasn't on purpose.
That's funny. And she tries to gather all of you.
Oh, she has to know where everybody is in the house, and she'll check in on you all day.
Oh,
I love that.
I love it too. It's great.
All right, well, let me give a little intro to Peggy, and then we'll give you the floor. And so Peggy, as an athlete, trainer, and coach, uses an approach with her clients, uses like a coach's approach with her clients. She knows how to inspire women to take control of their financial plan. She works collaboratively, with her clients and other advisors like CPAs, attorneys, mortgage brokers, to put together a plan where her clients can make and manage their own money, live the lifestyle they want to today, and feel confident about their tomorrow. Peggy typically works with female practices like veterinarians, doctors, and attorneys, and small business owners. And with that, I will give you the floor, Peggy.
Well, thank you. It's been so great to join you today. And I think what the name of this was the eliminating the should.
Stop shoulding yourself.
Yeah, stop shoulding yourself. I didn't put that one through compliance, but that's yours. So you take credit for that one. If you want to go ahead and start the slides, we can get moving. Okay. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about financial strategies for professional women. And, one of the things about our industry is about 18% of financial advisors are women. And there are 95% of the population doesn't even have a financial plan. So if you're talking about the issues, I have to say is if there were more women, I think there would be more plans. And so why don't women get involved both in this career, and why also don't women get involved in their financial planning? And I think a lot of it has to do with the approach that has happened. So Maggie, do you want to go to the next slide? Okay, so a quick bio about me. We went over the dogs. I made a career change when I was 55, and I was working for a company called the Sports Club Company, where this movie was filmed. And so if you know this movie, you're dating yourself, just as I am. And it was a great job down in Los Angeles area. And at age 55, the company sold, and I ended up finding myself without a job. And when I went to go find a financial advisor, well, guess what? It was everybody wanted to talk to me about what they wanted to do with my 401k. And they didn't talk to me about planning for my life. So let's go to the next slide, please. So one of the things that I have found out is women have to be perfect. Well, that's what some of the surveys say. And there's one quote here that says that when the men apply for a job, they meet only 60% of the qualifications. But when women apply, they must meet 100% of them. I think that's one of the reasons why people don't get involved in sitting down with a financial advisor, because they think they need to be perfect. And a lot of times the conversation is controlled that way because, there's challenges with some of the stuff and planning for women. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But they use eliminating or self-eliminating things like, we only work with high net worth clients. How many people just don't think they're a high net worth client? We only work with high income earners. We have only work with people who have minimum of portfolio assets. A common one is 250,000. And a lot of people look at that and say, well, I might even be close, but it's still not enough. My favorite one is, you're not my typical client, but I'll do it to you as a favor to your parents, spouse, or friend. So it's not on the basis of your worth. It's on the basis of somebody else's worth. And that makes a big difference, because if you want to have a collaborative relationship with the people you work with, you want them to be talking to you about your situation. So why don't people get involved? What's holding you back? So please go to the next slide. All right. You depend on someone else. How many of us depend on, and usually for a lot of us, and again, I'm dating myself here, are dependent on a father or a spouse or an uncle or the financial advisor of their parents. You were told it was not your responsibility. I was once told that my job was to be home, be married and be home in the kitchen with children. And that was by a professional male. Never taught what to do. This is not something that's in curriculums in school. And you had a bad experience. You sat down with somebody and they said, you know what, you're not qualified to work with us. And I had a situation with a mortgage broker who actually, because I have a spouse, we're LGBT, we weren't married at the time, she handed us 2 applications, and then she turned around and she said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Okay. And afraid of making a mistake. This is probably a big thing, because we learn that sometimes conversations that we had as a child will make us fear that we don't know what to do, and if we might make a mistake and it'll be harmful to us. And never knew where to start. That's a big one. And never knew who to start with. Now I want you to meet Paula. And Paula was a woman I met. She came to me and she wanted swimming lessons. And she did this, I can't remember her age at the time, but she wanted to do this because she wanted to protect her grandchild and bring her grandchild to swimming lessons. And I thought this was great. And when I went down and said, well, this is not going to be easy, but, why do you want to do this? I'm really excited to see you do this. She said, I want to protect my children, my grandchildren. And then when I said, okay, let's go in and let's start this. And at one point she had a challenge with blowing bubbles, I think it was. And when I came up and I said, are you okay? You're going to be okay? And she said, you know what? If I can survive what happened in the concentration camps, I can learn how to swim. And she became a swimmer. She didn't become an Olympic swimmer, but she was able to achieve her goal. Okay. And the next one is FOGS. And what FOGS means, fear of getting started. Am I starting too late? I don't make enough to start and do this. What if I make a mistake again? And it was funny. I had a phone call this week, and one of my clients was trying to log in, and she was like 5 minutes late. And she sent me a quick email and said, I'm trying to log in. Is it too late? And I, no, it's not too late. Relax. We'll be okay. So we had a great conversation, and we're moving forward. So this is Maureen. And Maureen Cornfield started swimming at age 65, and she is continuing to swim. She is 99 years old and has lots of world records. She has 28 of them. She probably has more by now. And what I'm saying is that it's not too late to do financial planning for just for yourself. You might not become the financial wizard. You might not become a millionaire, but you'll be able to do some things that will be great to take care of yourself. And then, not good at this. When I was a child swimming, I was always told that Black people couldn't swim. And I thought it was a situation, I literally thought it was a physical reason that they couldn't swim. Well, it wasn't. It was actually an access situation, and communities weren't given the access to swimming, except for these individuals on here. And they've all gone on to compete at the Olympics. Several of them have gotten gold medals. And the 2 young guys in the left-hand corner are friends of mine. They're twins that are down in Arizona that are now pursuing swimming, and I'm so excited for them. So getting access to people who can help you to achieve these goals is just like financial services. It's finding the right people to work with. These individuals found the right people to work with in swimming, and look where they went. Okay. Now, what makes our situation so different? Well, the average financial advisor works with somebody who has investments, invests them, and they don't really plan for life events. And I'm saying this from the standpoint of how many of us, our first job is our first job, whatever we're doing, and then we come home from work and we have our second job, and that's taking care of the kids, and that's taking care of the dogs in my case. It's doing meals, it's doing whatever you have to do, plus all the planning that you do for the family that's not financial planning. And there's so much on your plate that the financial planning becomes the back burner. So what you want is somebody who not only works with you about planning your lifestyle, it's understanding that there will be things that we need to take into consideration or plan. What if we have to stop out to take care of an ailing family member? What happens if we want to have a child or start a family? What happens if we want to start saving for our children's education? So all of these need to be incorporated in with the plan, and you want to do that with somebody who shares your same values on this. So having people sit down and have that conversation about, what do you want your life to look like today? And then, so learn today and plan for tomorrow. And so that's the approach that we do. But we have to start from some place, which is the very beginning. And that is, if you go ahead, and we start by calculating your net worth. And I try not to say that in a way that to think that we have to have a high enough net worth to start, but more, where are we starting from? And we have a joke when I work with doctors, because they come out of school with a lot of school loan, and we celebrate the day when we pay off that school loan and their net worth is zero. And I say that as a joke because it is a process. And then if we have a starting point, then we will be able to see how we progress. So we save 20% of our income. Again, that's a high number. That's an ideal. But if we can work for that, that's great. We eliminate bad debt. We need to manage risks, things that could be a threat to our family, to our income, to our property. We use the tax codes to our advantage. And the biggest part is we review your financial situation yearly, if not more, if you have a life event, or if you just plain feel that you need a little bit more hands-on or have a little bit more discussion about what you're doing. That's got to be part of your program if it works for you. And we don't let emotions dictate our investments decisions. I'm a big proponent of counting from 5 and then, okay, now let's make the decision. Okay.
So, question, what is defined as bad debt?
Oh, you know what? Let's go to the next slide. And we're going to start there. So when we're talking about our pyramid of financial needs, the foundation is with these 3 things on the bottom. It's the emergency word, the debt management, and risk management. And the place I always start first, Maggie, is that debt management. So go ahead and go to the next slide, and you can actually push through to the next one after that. Okay, so bad debt versus good debt. And I want you to think of a line, a 7%. Above that line is bad debt. Below that line is good debt. Well, what do you mean by good debt, Peggy? Debt is, we've been told that debt is awful. And one of the things that a lot of people will say, I want to retire without a mortgage. Well, let's think about it. Good debt is debt that is secured against something, a home. Student loan is actually your education, and then businesses. The other thing about good debt is it's below 7%. So think of an investment. An investment might make 7 or 8%, and you think, oh, okay, that's a pretty good investment. So paying down on interest that is below 7% is actually good for you. It does, it helps you build your credit. It gives you the opportunity to spend money on other things while you're paying off these debts. Okay, so the ones we want to focus. So take a deep breath, relax about the fact that we have mortgages, we have student loans, and we have business loans. They're here. They're something that we can incorporate in a plan. Where we want to focus on is high interest, short-term debt. And then we also have to say, let's not be house poor. In other words, try to live within our means when we buy a home, because this happens a lot, especially with divorces, where women get the home and then that's a big chunk of their cash flow in their household. So we don't want that situation at all. So go ahead. All right. Now we talk about emergency reserves. So debt is one of the biggest obstacles because a lot of women feel that they need to clean up their debt before they start working with a financial advisor. That's like cleaning up your house before a cleaning person comes. The professionals that work with you, that's part of the picture. We go through it. We've gone through it ourselves. So we can have some great suggestions as how to do that. One of the other things is a lot of people have emergency reserves, or they don't have emergency reserves because they keep on paying off their debt. That's not a bad thing. So once we pay off our debt, the next step is to set up emergency reserves. And when you do that, you want to have something that's safe. You want it to be liquid. You want it to be free. Nobody should be charging you to have a balance in the account. And we're not talking about return. What we're talking about is access to the money and letting it work for you a little bit while you're waiting to use it. There are some high interest savings accounts right now. They're not doing quite as well as we want them to do because the interest rates are historically low, but it's still a good place to put some money and save for that rainy day fund. Or I also had the fund in case you want to make a life decision later on and you need some cash on hand to be able to make that life decision. Okay.
Can we dive into what liquid means?
Okay, you can. Liquid means that you can get that money out very quickly. And it's not going to cost you to get that out. So investments are, like, for example, your house is an investment, but it's not liquid. You can't just go and take your house down to the grocery store and buy groceries with it. You can't buy even anything with your home equity on that. But you can, investments are the same way. There are investments that are very high risk investments. And if you took the money out, the amount it would cost you would be probably prohibitive, especially if it's coming from one of your retirement accounts where there's other things that prevent you from doing that, like getting a penalty because you're taking money out too early. So all those things are considered illiquid. In other words, you do not have access if you need them right away.
So this would be cash in a bank account, not taking out money on a credit card and pulling it out as cash and using that.
Yeah. No, that's
Just
not
making that clear.
Because that's also not free. It's a funny story. I had a client and we were talking about her debt, and she said to me, I have all this debt. I want to pay this off first. And I have this situation that I needed to get a new water heater. And she put on a credit card. And I said, why didn't you use your emergency reserves? And she said, because I'm saving it for a real emergency. And I said, well, the idea is use the emergency reserves, pay for your emergency, pay for a water heater. That's kind of important. And then build back up your emergency reserves.
We have a lot of conversations about what is the emergency, and somebody else I saw was like, I had to use my emergency fund to move out of my boyfriend's house. He broke up with me. I'm like, yes, that's the emergency. It's not a fire. It's not a flood, but like, that is what it's for. Like, so you have that freedom, but
absolutely. So that you can make the decision and not feel Like, oh my gosh, I can't afford to do this.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then a high interest savings account is like a typical savings account, but you earn a small, right now, very small percentage every month or year.
Yeah.
Just clarifying for those who don't know. So it is very much like a regular bank account, like you would get at Chase or Capital One or whatever. But you earn, I think right now it's like 0.4%.
Yeah, it's gone down. We were at 1.2 about a year ago, and then the interest rates dropped so much. They that's not a very good place to save money these days.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other pieces is most of these banks are online, because a big part of what you pay for those banks that have brick and mortars, that are the one in your hometown, which you should still have accounts for that, like your checking account should be there, is that you're paying for the facility as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, I'm going to let you keep going then.
Okay. All right. And then we can go on to the next one. And then the next one is risk management. And this is really important. I call this my baby in the airplane scenario. And you know how they give the talk and they say, if the mask comes down, put the mask on yourself first and then put it on the baby. That's the same thing I feel about risk management. Take care of those things that will keep you being able to help those you love. So what do you insure and what do you not insure? You self-insure. That means you pay it for yourself. Those things that are a high probability or low cost risks. You self-insure deductibles and waiting periods. So in other words, if they're trying to sell you a warranty, that might be something you're going to hold off on. What you do, you share those things that have a low probability and high cost risk. In other words, if something happened here, would it be financially devastating? The things you want to protect the most are your most valuable assets. And a lot of people think, well, my house, well, okay, that's a good one. But the most important things, especially for women, are health, income, and family. Okay, so those things that we talked about that are risk to self-insure are, as I said, warranties, deductibles, short-term disability insurance, and that's the Aflac duck. Trip insurance, and I'm going to put a caveat on that one, and then credit card insurance and event insurance. I say a caveat on trip insurance because I have dogs, and I travel with my dogs in the cargo. Well, I will buy trip insurance because the probability of a trip being canceled is pretty high when there's things like bad weather and all that, where I can't take my dog with me. They won't allow the dog on the plane. And if I'm going to a dog event, I kind of need my dog. So I will go ahead and pay for that trip insurance so that I'm not out I don't have a financial setback because of the weather or whatever the situation was that prevented my dog from traveling. And so I feel that there are some things that people really feel important about. Cell phones. A lot of people will insure cell phones because they're very expensive to buy a new one. But in the grand scheme of things, how much are you paying for that cell phone? And I actually say I don't pay for it because it'll give me an excuse to get a new phone. Okay. And those things that we do insure. Now, notice that there's a left-hand side and a right-hand side. On the left-hand side, the things that we insure, and it's a good thing to insure, and that's medical insurance, home insurance, car insurance, and umbrella liability. I'll explain that one a little bit later. On the right-hand side, you have life insurance, disability, professional liability, and long-term care. Notice anything about the left-hand side? Those are all the things that the umbrella liability we don't have to get, but the top three are things that we have to get. There are mandates in certain states about medical insurance. I don't know a state that doesn't require that you have insurance on your home. And I don't know a state that doesn't require insurance on your car. And one of the other things is Sure, if you get in a car accident, it's going to cost you a lot of money. But one of the reasons why those things are also on the left-hand side, because the bank is the one that wants you to make sure you have insurance on those. So they secure a loan by having insurance on a car. You can't lease the car, you can't buy a car without having the insurance card. And that's because the bank wants to make sure they get their money back. On the right-hand side, those are all the things that they're not mandated, but those are all the things that are going to provide you with stability in your life in terms of income if you became disabled, or if you lost your life, you were able to provide for your family and your loved ones. And then professional liability, if somebody comes after your business, you want to protect your business. And then there's long-term care, which with COVID, we all saw what that was going on. So it's kind of interesting that the risk to insure are the ones that have the huge economic consequence on us, but the ones that we're required by law to pretty much have in force are the ones that are secured by the bank. Okay, and the reasons to buy life insurance is for protection, accumulation, and business. And I put this separately because a lot of people think life insurance is something that, you only have to have when you die. Well, there are now some things that allow you to use it as collateral or buy-sell in running a business, a way to tap into it for long-term care, a way to tap into it to cover your life insurance if you're disabled. So there are some living benefits that are also in the life insurance world. Now, everybody talks about buying a policy and it's transactional. And I don't know how many people have sat down with a financial advisor and say, I know you're going to try to sell me insurance. Yeah, it's not every type of insurance. It's the right type of insurance that works for you. And usually people have questions about that one. And how do I work with my clients? And I'm talking about this because there's a lot of financial advisors in the world, and there are a lot of people who do things differently. And I do what I call it's the make your own money process, or manage your own money process. And that is where we sit down and we go through educational meetings and talk about what you want to do, learn about what you can do now, and then plan for what you want to have happen in the future. What do I charge for this? I actually do something that is unique to a lot of the independent firms. It's called, I can be brought on by a retainer. And so you can pay monthly fees to do that. And I charge based on income. So, and it's quite reasonable. So one of the things is, if you're working with a financial advisor, ask about fee transparency. And they don't start charging you until you have an agreement of how you're going to work together. And sometimes I've already taken care of it. Why should I meet with you? I have a financial advisor. It's like getting a doctor and having a second set of eyes. A lot of times hearing a different perspective, especially somebody who shares your same values, might have come back and say, have you ever thought about, which could lead you into a different route or a different decision that might be beneficial for you. And what do we look for the advisor? I really do think that you should find somebody who shares your values, who understands what it's like to be you. And it also is helpful for somebody who's independent and does not have to sell a particular product and can design whatever we're doing to work best for you. And in this day and age, how do we maintain a long-term relationship? We were doing internet meetings before it was cool. And that's because we do work with a lot of professionals around the country. And I will get a client that will, because of their work, transfer out of state. And I feel it's much easier for me to go out and get a new license for the state where they live, for them to find a financial advisor who we've had this long relationship with. And so, for example, I have a client who just moved to Pennsylvania, and I will be getting my license for Pennsylvania. And think that's it. Yep, that's it. This is the fine print. Happy to answer any questions. I powered through that really quick. So let me know.
That was a ton of great information, though.
That's great. I love so many things about your presentation. First of all, Peggy, were you a competitive swimmer also?
Oh yeah, I swam and played water polo for Stanford.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, it's amazing what you learn about people. That's awesome. Water polo, whew, that's a hard one. We'll talk all about that later. I have lots of questions. But you know, what I love about your presentation is really finding someone that you're aligned with around kind of who you are and what's your life about and what is it that you want, not what your advisor says that you need to do with your money. I think that's really important. I've had advisors say, yeah, but if we give them the best advice, they should do it like what we say, but whose money is it? Whose money is it?
Yeah, I'm giving you that face because of the should.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
And I've seen this happen a lot of times in my conversations with somebody, and I'll be having the talk with them, and I can tell that they're thinking, I'm going on this route and saying, well, have you thought about this? And I get the look, and I'm saying, okay, that's not what's going on in their brain. Like I have a client who really wanted to buy a house. And when I started talking about, well, maybe we should do this. And then I caught myself, I said the word should.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's back up. Now, what would be the best route for you to take? Do you think if we tried to save a little bit more money, or if you think we should do this? Again, you catch yourself saying should all the time. So I really try to flip it as can and also respond to the right thing for them. And you know what? I'm not the right fit too. That's another thing that is. If a financial advisor says, I don't know about that, then it's a fair question to say either I will, do you know somebody who does? Or can you connect me with somebody who's an expert in that? Because I'd rather have that person work with that expert on that than have me muddle through. Or a lot of times, and this is one of the things with the purse string professionals, some of the other professionals that I work with, like people like Dina and Allison, is I'm not a mortgage professional, but what we can do is we can sit down together and come up with the best option that's for you.
Got it.
I'm learning at the same time they are. And here's the other thing is that also tells me that I'm probably going to have that same question with another client. Right. So now I know who to go to when I have that question. Divorce and homes, find a specialist to help with those. Those are the ones that you really, because and when you go through a divorce, and we all do this, how many people have, or a big life event, somebody's like, oh, you should apply here. You should use this attorney. You should go for everything. And it's like, no, that's not the right route for some people.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And something. Go ahead.
The other part I want to mention is we talk a lot about, or kind of advertise to our women, that it's not always just one professional, and you do need your financial team. And there's nothing weird about asking, like, can you talk to my mortgage person and see if this is the right fit? That's common. And if they don't think that's weird, if they don't vibe with that, maybe they're not the best fit for you. But that's not uncommon to have, your mortgage person talk to your financial person and be there or not be there. I mean, all your doctors might talk together, or all your teachers talk together. But
that's the industry. That's the patriarchal piece about how the industry was set up. And I recall, and a lot in my industry have told me this, that people who have gone the route that I have gone through, some of the firms that I've gone through, that was like, don't ever talk to a property and casualty person because they're going to steal your life insurance business. And And there was actually an article, and I wrote a blog about this that said, don't talk to the estate planning attorney. Don't refer your client to a estate planning attorney or a CPA because you still want to control the situation. Well, no, that's not collaboration. And
Right.
I have some great conversations with clients. Probably the funnest meeting I ever had was with a CPA, my client, and the estate planning attorney. And they were all so glad I brought the client in because they're like, Peggy, we've been trying to get this client to do this for years. You're the first financial advisor who told her to take this as a priority.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. And I also loved what you said. You know, so many people are dismissed right out of the gate. Like, I loved when you said, I don't normally take a client like you, but, you know, I'll do it as a favor to so-and-so. It's like, oh, you know, whoa, I guess I am not worthy, you know, or I did hear someone say to me when I was talking about purse strings, like I wasn't even finished with my sentence. And she's like, I only work with people with have $1 million, nothing less, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, you're not our person, you know, but you do hear that a lot. You do hear those kind of like, well, we only work with X. And I guess everybody needs to have their niche or their criteria, but it does seem so dismissive.
It does. And that my best client, the one that I met with the CPA and the estate planning attorney, she came with me up with a pile of stuff. And she goes, I don't know if I meet your prerequisites. And I said, I don't have a prerequisite. She goes, okay, because other people say that there's a prerequisite of $1 million. She's a $3 million client. But the other part is, and this is one, and I think Barbara, you and I talked about this. I had a client whose husband died. And the financial professionals that her husband's financial advisor said, I'm going to work with you as a favor to your husband, because normally I don't have that much, you know, I don't work with people with that low of a balance. And I'm like, how much is in the account? And she said, 40,000. I said, well, what happened to all the money? Because if he worked with your husband,
Yeah.
and he has a $250,000 minimum, what happened to the money? There's $210,000 missing. But as I said, you know, there's a book called The Confidence Code by Katty Kay. And it is women that checking the box. Women won't apply unless they check all the boxes. Men will check a box, and then even if it doesn't apply, and say, I can wing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that's how a lot of times society raised us. Unfortunately.
So, I want to ask you a couple more questions about, so you have told us before that your specialty is almost working with doctors and veterinarians because they come out of school with such a large amount of debt. So it seems like when they come to you, they don't really have money, which it doesn't seem like you would be the ideal client.
Well, and actually, if you think about it, it's also business owners are the same way. How many people, and this is again, we know it, who have, and I was one of them, who when you lose your job, you take your 401k and you start a business.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women do that. It's the way it is. Or get a divorce and you don't get the full 401k or whatever the thing is that you do with that. Now, where am I going with this? It is a lot of women put their money into their business, so they don't have a lot of savings. They have no savings, and we call that high interest, no retirement. Henry. So how I do that is the subscription base. So it's a monthly fee. And it's and actually for people who are in medical school or in training, we don't charge them that fee. That's our gift to the profession, because we know it's really messy, and we know that you know what, we'd rather them work with us, and then when they get on their contract, then we can talk about a monthly fee. But we don't want to get them there. We want to get them through the messy middle. And it's
amazing. Like if someone supported you, then you would stick with them later.
Yeah.
It's like you have a whole,
some don't, you know, and that's not the issue. When you're dealing with doctors, a lot of times you just want to have that relationship, and And there are some people who that's what they will start doing it, but they won't do investments. They won't do insurance. They won't do anything. They'll just every week or every month or so, they have a telephone call. So that's the other part, is that access and asking those questions. So it is because there are people, financial advisors, who write a big financial plan and charge you up front for that financial plan. And one of the last people I talked to, I said, "Do you ever get one of those done?" And she said, "Yeah, it's in the trunk of my car." Like, when did you get this done? She goes, 5 years ago. And she goes, "I put it in the trunk of my car and I never took it out."
Wow.
So not the same plan anymore.
Yeah, I don't like that. What I would rather have happen is somebody call me up and say, "Hey, this is just what happened." And I got one of those phone calls last week. "Hey, Peggy, I think I'm going to be going through a divorce. Can you help me with this? And I can't help you with this, but let's sit down and talk about the steps that we need to take and get you with, let's get you with, have you heard about collaborative law?" "No." "Wow, what's that?" "Well, I work with a collaborative lawyer." And again, it's knowing those resources for people to help them through these things. And these aren't things you're going to want to talk to. You're not going to want to talk to a family member. You're not going to want to talk to your dad about it.
Right.
I was on a call last night with WSU student business women's group, and every single one of them said, "My father did not want me to major in." And there were like 10 things that everybody said my father didn't want to major in. And it's like, well, now here you are telling your father, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to quit my job. I want to go and start my own business." Well, that's not going to go over very well.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, gosh, this has been so fun and enlightening. And I love how it's almost like we need to give women the permission to say, look, choose who you want to do business with, and don't let anybody should you to death. And, most importantly, start now. Even if you don't think you have enough money or you've got too much debt or whatever, you don't have to clean your house before the cleaning lady comes. Let's start where you are, right? I love it. It's great.
Yep, and remember Maureen, she's still swimming at 99. I mean, we're
I
not all
know.
the Olympians, but we can live our lifestyle.
Yeah.
That is, and the other thing is, if it doesn't sound right, it probably isn't.
Right. Right. Love it.
Awesome. Great advice.
Thank you so much, Peggy. Appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you, Peggy. You can always reach Peggy at the Affinity Group or Peggy.Haslach. Is that how you pronounce it?
Haslach.
Peggy.Haslach at thefinitygroup.com. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved providers. So she has a page on our Purse Strings site. So you can always check out her or all of our other providers there. And it sounds like Peggy's pretty willing to work with you wherever you're living. So you can see what state she has her license in right now. And that's always building. Feel free to reach out to Peggy or any of our Purse Strings approved providers. And we'll see you all here again next week. All right. Thank you, Peggy.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye.